Order, order.
The Draft Proceeds of Crime Act 2002, Search, Seizure and Detention of Property, Code of Practice, Northern Ireland Order 2024.
Minister to move the motion.
I beg to move that the committee has considered the following draft statutory instrument. The Proceeds of Crime Act 2002, brackets Search, Seizure and Detention of Property, Code of Practice, brackets Northern Ireland Order 2024. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Sir Roger, and it's very good to see the Minister in his place. I would like to take the opportunity to thank him for the very constructive tone that he adopted in the Martin's Law debate last night. I'm very pleased that we've been able to make progress with that important piece of legislation. I'm very grateful to him and to the opposition for the support that they have offered throughout the passage of the bill. This debate this morning relates to the commencement of another statutory instrument similar to the one that was debated in this House on the 13th of November. I therefore will not go into great detail on the instrument's context, but will briefly remind the House that this instrument relates to the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act of 2023. This Act contained a wide range of reforms to reduce economic crime and increase transparency over corporate entities conducting business in the UK. This included reforms to enable targeted information sharing to tackle money laundering and remove reporting burdens on business. Additionally, the Act introduced new intelligence gathering powers for law enforcement and reformed outdated criminal corporate liability laws. The legislation also introduced reforms to keep pace with the use of emerging technologies used to launder money and commit economic crime, including crypto assets. The Act introduced new search, seizure and detention powers where crypto assets are being used illegally or for terrorist purposes. The legislation aims to remove criminal gains and disrupt criminals using crypto assets for illicit purposes. On the 26th of April, the crypto assets measures to which this debate relates came into force in Northern Ireland, as well as in England and Wales. As of the end of November, over 100 cases have exercised the new powers in the UK, including crypto assets, seizures or confiscation cases involving crypto assets. The cases account for £18 million. Now, the committee will be relieved to hear that I do not intend to cover the content of the powers themselves, as they were debated extensively in both houses during the passage of the Act. I will instead just outline briefly the purpose of the instrument today. The Code of Practice being brought into operation by this statutory instrument is the Search, Seizure and Detention of Property Code for Northern Ireland. The code is made by the Home Secretary to guide the exercise of search and seizure powers operated by Immigration Enforcement and HMRC in Northern Ireland. It is the responsibility of the relevant ministers in each jurisdiction in the UK to publish their own codes of practice. And the Northern Ireland Assembly's own code of practice for their officers' operating powers in Northern Ireland came into force in July. This is the final code of practice to be debated for the crypto assets measures in the Act. Codes of practice clarify the circumstances in which the powers may be exercised to ensure that they are applied consistently and proportionately across law enforcement. This is to safeguard against improper use of the powers, which is of vital importance given the broad range of law enforcement agencies who can exercise them. For instance, this code of practice contains guidance on what constitutes reasonable grounds for suspicion when searching a premises and the prior authorisations required to exercise the powers. These safeguards are necessary where more intrusive powers are used to investigate crime. To be clear, this code relates to guidance for officers using powers already introduced. This draft instrument is required to complete commencement of the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act of 2023. This will ensure that all necessary legislation is in place and that law enforcement operate the powers proportionately and according to the aims of the legislation. I commend the statutory instrument to the committee.
Yeah. The question is that the committee has considered the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002, Search, Seizure and Detention of Property, Code of Practice, Northern Ireland Order 2024. Shadow Minister.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. A version of these changes was discussed last month by the committee, and we rightly supported the changes made as a consequence of the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act. It's critical that we update our legal regime to ensure we can seize the proceeds from all those who commit crimes, whether that be cash or cryptocurrency. A code should apply consistently, wherever a criminal operates in the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland. As such, we support these changes to the Proceeds of Crime codes. Some things are beyond party politics, and it's heartening to see the new government continue the legislative process stemming from the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act passed by the Conservatives. Cryptocurrency has fundamentally and permanently changed the way criminals and terrorist groups launder, move and spend their money. It's right that the government moves quickly to ensure our police and enforcement agencies have the authority and means to respond to these changes. The ability to do so successfully will play a vital role in our national security. Based on conversations in the Grand Committee, I understand there's potential for the proceeds of crime to be recycled back into agencies under this system. The impact assessment for the Act estimated total benefits of £430.4 million over 10 years. While I appreciate that it may be challenging to provide precise figures, has the Minister estimated what proportion might be allocated to Northern Ireland? Additionally, given the decentralised nature of cryptocurrencies, what discussions has the Minister had with counterparts in the Republic of Ireland and other partner countries to ensure cross-border cooperation in preventing the illicit use of such funds? I want to take a moment to salute the work of the National Crime Agency on its recent investigation into a global cryptocurrency money laundering network based out of Moscow. 84 people have been arrested, with the network stretching across 30 countries, including 71 here in the UK. This shows our law enforcement agencies are getting ahead of crypto despite its relative novelty. We in this place should continue to do our part to ensure this remains the case. Finally, given the recent discovery, exposure and police action against Moscow-based crypto laundering, has the Minister considered and investigated the use of crypto in sanctions evasions by Russia? Whilst I understand he would be limited in what he could share, I would encourage him to prioritise tackling this. As I said before, national security must always come above party politics. And it's in that spirit that I reiterate our support for these changes today and assure the Minister of our continued collaboration on matters of national security going forward. Thank you.
Robin Swan.
Thank you, Sir Roger. It's a pleasure to serve under you, and thank you for the invitation to speak on this statutory instrument this morning. And we will be supporting what is brought forward here, because any measure that puts more pressure on organised crime, crime organisations and indeed paramilitary and terrorist organisations is a welcome step forward. But can I just ask the Minister two questions in regards to the SI that has been brought forward? 6.3 in the advice memorandum says that this code only applies to Northern Ireland. I just seek the Minister's reassurances that although this code is specific to Northern Ireland, it's still under the Economic Crime Corporate Transparency Act of 2023. There will be similarities across all jurisdictions of the United Kingdom, and I join in the Shadow Minister just in seeking that reassurance that he is working with his counterparts in the Republic of Ireland, because what we've seen, Sir Roger, in Northern Ireland is how easy it is to move physical assets of crime across the border. I wouldn't like to see the ability that those crypto assets could be easily transferred into the Republic of Ireland as well, and actually hidden there in a shape and form as well. Also, the other point of clarification I would seek, I did note under the memorandum of explanation at 7.2 that one of the enforcement agencies had sought clarity on the definitions in a different code, actually on property, crypto assets and wallets, and also suggested where additional guidance could be added on storage and searches. And I just seek clarification that additional guidance has been provided to those agencies, because it is vital that we get this right and tackle crime at its heart.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, can I firstly thank the Shadow Minister and the Honourable Member for South Antrim for their constructive and helpful comments, and I'll seek to address the points that they have made. If I'm not able to do so this morning, then I will write to the Honourable Gentleman and to the Shadow Minister, as I did previously, but let me see what I can do. Firstly, in terms of the helpful remarks made by the Honourable Gentleman for South Antrim, he was seeking, I think, assurance that this code is specific to crime in Northern Ireland, and that is the case. I can give him that assurance. But he also, I think, entirely reasonably was seeking wider assurances around engagement that the UK government has had with not only colleagues in the Northern Ireland Assembly, but also in the Republic of Ireland as well. And I can give him those assurances. In terms of the points made by the Shadow Minister, again, I'm grateful for the very constructive tone that he struck. He asked, I think, an entirely reasonable question about the recycling of funds. Rather than give him an inaccurate figure, I think he was kind enough to accept that I wouldn't be able to give him the precise figures at this particular moment. But I will, as I did previously, write to him to make sure he's got the most up-to-date figures that the department holds. And also I can give him the same assurance that I've given the Honourable Member about engagement with the UK Government, both in terms of colleagues in the Northern Ireland Assembly and also in terms of contact with the Republic of Ireland as well. He also, I thought, made a good point about the use of cryptocurrency in terms of sanctions against Russia. I was at the National Crime Agency yesterday with the Foreign Secretary and our newly appointed anti-corruption champion, Baroness HoC. These are matters that are of real priority to the government. We're working at pace across government in terms of looking at the resources that we have in order to tackle the issues that he has raised. We think that the appointment of Baroness HoC, who brings very long-standing experience in this area, will complement the work that we are doing. I would like to take the opportunity, having just visited them yesterday, to pay tribute to the extraordinary work being done by the National Crime Agency on behalf of the UK government. They recently completed a very successful operation which was known as Destabilise. There's been quite significant media reporting of that, which was targeted interventions against Russia. And I can give the Shadow Minister an absolute assurance that we are looking incredibly carefully at what more we can do in terms of taking action against the use of cryptocurrency and ensuring that the sanctions regime that we have in place is as effective as it possibly can be. I think with that, Sir Roger, all I would like to do is to thank the committee once more for considering this statutory instrument. As I have set out, it is necessary to complete the commencement of the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act of 2023, and I therefore commend the instrument to the committee, and I beg to move.
The question is that the committee has considered the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002, Search, Seizure and Detention of Property, Code of Practice, Northern Ireland Order 2024. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Order. Order.